The views, products, and services featured in this segment are provided by independent businesses and are not directly endorsed, guaranteed, or warranted by the Lifeline podcast or its host. We encourage our listeners to conduct their own due diligence before making any purchases or business decisions. The Lifeline podcast assumes no responsibility or liability for any transactions, experiences, or outcomes resulting from engaging with these businesses. Any disputes, concerns, or issues must be directly addressed with the business in question. By listening to this segment and choosing to engage with featured businesses, you acknowledge and agree that the Lifeline podcast is not liable for any claims, losses, or damages arising from your interactions with these businesses. Welcome to the Lifeline, a production of Simply BJE. The goal of this podcast is to build, inspire, and to empower our listeners through conversations on business, leadership, and mental health. We invite you to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and at www.simplybje.com/the Lifeline. Now, let's tune in for today's episode. Top of the day, everyone. Thank you for joining us for this episode of The Lifeline. We're your host, life coach, and motivational speaker, Bo Powell, social media influencer and owner of the Furrow brand, Lindsberg Petway, and yours truly, leadership coach and mental health advocate, Barry J. Elliott. You can visit us at www.simplybje.com/the Lifeline and on social media on Facebook, Instagram, and now on YouTube. Today, once again, we have Miss Tamara Hall and Mr. Jermaine Washington. They are business owners, they're entrepreneurs, and so many other things. And last week we had the privilege of talking to them about the Omega Clip. We'll remind you about what that is, but today we wanted to take our conversation a step further to talk about product development and what that looks like and how they can enhance or what they can share with other business owners and up and coming business owners about being prepared for the terrain of business. So let's dive into this conversation.
Yeah, man. Jermaine, Tamara, so good to have you guys back. Such an amazing product with the Omega Clip. It's actually very unique. For me, just seeing what you guys have, I think it's a total game changer in the area of gun safety. But I know it hasn't been easy getting things. Business is tough, especially when you're bringing something like this to market. Get it out there to make sales and stuff like that. Everybody talks about business is sexy. Everybody, yeah, I'm an entrepreneur, it sounds sexy, but an idea, but the reality of it, it's tough. So, talk to us a little bit about, the work that it takes, the process of getting this out there, to really get something off the ground.
Okay. So about a year ago, the tapes they actually presented the offer to me. Um, I didn't really catch the ideal of it at the time. So Mr. Dion actually went back to InventHelp and had them to do a video of the product. And after I watched the video of the product, it actually broke it down. I was like, you know what, this is a genius idea. How do I get in on it? So he actually gave me a disclosed price of how much it would cost for me to get in on the business. With me being in real estate, a lot of times real estate owners are equity rich and cash poor. So I presented an offer with them. I was like, well, how about I create a investment company, which is a Peak Performance Investment Group. And I told them that I would leverage 30% of my property management company and give them a stake in that for a percentage of the Omega Clip. So that is where we are right now. So I've been using the equity in the property management to actually get into the business.
That's genius.
That's different. Yeah.
He was definitely exactly what we needed when we went into the house of God and we discovered Jermaine Washington was alive and awake in this planet to get us what we needed and where we wanted to go. But honestly, in the very beginning, when it was in the baby stages, when we went through Event Help is a company where it has founded, I want to say, over a lot of homemade things that we already use that we didn't even know was invented through this company. Without using anything that's copywritted or saying, I'm not going to name drop, but please research Event Health if you have any questions or issues, or you just kind of want to know more about it. They're very useful, very helpful. And basically what they do is they take your concept. So you want to make a gun holster. And they're like, okay, so you want to make a gun holster. Well, tell us about what you would like on your gun holster. So they talk to you initially for the first initial phase, and they actually have you draw it. You have to hand draw it, even if you're not an artist. Dion is not an artist, but he was able to get the conceptualized idea onto paper. He scanned it and then sent it. So what they do is several stages of analysis because they have to run it through the system to see if anybody's created this before, if there's anything that mocks this in current usage or in production as it is now, or something that mirrors it. And when it came back with the first drawing, nothing was out there. We're like, okay, round two, let's go. So round two is can this be something that can be patented in the future? Can it actually be produced? Can it be made? Is it something that will that does that gives you the concept that you're actually wanting, or the product that your concept put onto the paper, put into action. And so they run another test. Then they actually take your whole idea, your concept, your drawings and everything, and they go through a numerous amount of researchers and analysts, analyzers, and then they come back with a really thick booklet of what your potential of your invention is, what your invention can do, what your invention means to your community, what your invention means to the world. And based on what that says, they will continue on in the production of your product or in the production of your idea or invention. So
So,
it is several steps, but they make it easy when they're always communicating with you from the start to finish. They want to make sure that you understand what you're doing and what it is. And then they talk about the price.
so is
Yeah,
at
that
that
was about to
stage,
say, what's how much is that?
Yeah. So
so
at first, initially, everything is free. We want to make sure this is something
right.
that that can be used. We want to make sure this is something that um people want. We want to make sure that our analysis and our researchers say that this is something that can really do. Okay, it is wonderful. Brand new mega clip. We love you. Let's talk about the money. So, and the good thing is they do have packages if you just kind of want to get it out there and you have funding and you have money already together, they will give you a certain package. If you are bare bones like me and Dion were, where we had only a credit card and a prayer, let's go. Then they talk to you about what you do, but they do set you up for press release. They do set you up for trade shows. The first 2 months we actually had the product with Event Health, they took the idea to a trade show in Vegas.
Awesome. So was it at that third
Question.
stage where they did the third stage was at that where they did the market analysis?
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
So did they ask for a percentage if you didn't have the opportunity to just pay them?
100%, because that is how they tell you that you can have your dreams come true. It's
Yeah,
like
yeah.
Disneyland. You
Yeah.
can have your dreams come true for only 20%, but they do tell you that you can actually, if you pay off what you would owe for them to be the conceptualizers, they will take a percentage down. So it normally starts around 20%. And then if you pay what you owe as they have done the things that they've needed to do to get your brand, to get your product out there, to get your invention sponsored, then they'll knock it down to 10%. So everything is highly negotiable. I remember when I was telling Jermaine this, he was like, "Did you haggle?"
Yeah.
Did you negotiate? And a lot of times, especially in business, we don't realize you always have the power to negotiate. You
Some people
always,
know that.
Here we
yes.
go.
So, quick question, and it's funny you brought up Invent Help because many years ago I started that process. I had a bright idea, but I never finished it. And I was this is interesting that somebody that actually took it through and the product came through. But is your product patent?
My product is patented,
Okay.
so they will not, because of legal of legal issues, patent your product. You have to find a lawyer. We have a family lawyer, so we were able to use our family lawyer to get information for a patent lawyer. So the patent phase is a little bit more complicated because normally when you hear of patent, you hear of, okay, that means that people can't reproduce my product, people cannot rename my product, but there's several stages in the patent process, depending on if you're going to get a provincial patent or you're going to actually get um, an yeah, it's a provincial patent and then the actual patent. So the provincial patent is where you have the idea, and also in the United States, as we talk about patents, the United States is first file, first call. So if me and you, Mr. Elliott, have the same idea and you tell me about it and you don't file your patent and I go file because it's a good idea and I want to file, then it's mine.
Wow.
You have that is the number one rule. And Event Health did tell you that. So they're like, hey, don't, if you have a really good idea and you're really not sure what it is, and you want to do a provisional patent, which means you first made the initial movement towards a patent, so nobody can take your idea, that's $500. When you do with the lawyer, it's between $1,000 and $500. The actual patent to 100% lock down the um the design pattern, the like the rest of the enchilada, that's like $10,000. So it is a big deal understanding. And most lawyers who do patents will always let you know, in this, we'll lock this down. And they go in and they do their research as a lawyer to make sure that everything that you're putting in your initial design, as far as the layout, as far as what you're wishing, what you're wanting, is in your provisional patent. Then when you do your official patent, that's when you go even deeper. Like nobody can use a certain resin because then you actually have a product so you can know exactly what you're patenting. When you have an idea, you use a provincial because it doesn't really close doors, but it stops somebody from stealing your idea.
That's
What is the
amazing.
time frame on that?
A provincial patent is 1 year.
Okay.
A patent is for the rest of your invention's life and creation.
Okay. And the time frame to try to get an official patent from start to finish.
You have a year, every year you get a provisional. So this is honestly our second year of having a provisional patent. So we have just had a provisional. So as we fund it, as we get funded, as we get more support, that is the first thing that we're doing once we actually get the actual prototype, is to finish the patent.
Okay. Okay. Well, first, I want to salute you, Miss Hall, because it's Women's History Month. So you are
You.
officially a history maker. So
Yeah.
we want to salute you because
Absolutely.
this is a new product. So we want to salute you as a history maker. You said something earlier. You were talking about when you and Dion started, you had nothing but a credit card and a prayer.
And a
So,
prayer.
so talk to us a little bit about raising capital, because I'm sure you had to do that.
Yes. The thing about being an entrepreneur is everybody says, oh, I work for myself. So I don't need to do anything. I work for myself. People have no idea that you're going to work 5 times harder for
Yes.
yourself than you ever will for anyone. You're going to put in way more hours and way more time. So at your job, you're putting in 40 hours, 50, 60 at the most. When you're an entrepreneur, that's 105 hours. You are putting in that work. It looks differently. It feels differently, but you're putting in that time. When you're raising capital, you're going to your bank, you're looking at your mortgage. It's like, how much equity can I pull out? Maybe if I pull out this, or if I pull out 10 grand here, if I pull out 20 grand here. I had owned a house in Houston. We sold that house in Houston because we moved to Central Texas. So you're really looking for everything, not to take food out of your mouth, but to still fund your dream. It's critical when you are wanting to get into the entrepreneur role that you understand the stats are against you. The stats are never for you to be able to eat and live good and survive. And the people that you see on TV that are like, I'm entrepreneurs and I make $250,000 a year, you don't know the backstory of when they were
Uh,
eating beans and rice every day and they were talking about, I need an egg, please. The backstory of really getting money from an idea is really what kills an idea. So
Mhm.
you have to have and what I mean by what kills idea is I'm excited about Omega Clip. Well, what if we didn't have that credit card? Well, what if we didn't have people in our corner to say, we'll give you $500 for your patent, or we'll give you this, or we'll give you that? That kind of negativity could kill an idea. But the fire inside you, knowing that what you're trying to make and create and do is what fuels you through that negativity. What did we learn from Ben Franklin? He didn't try to make a light bulb 99 times. He mastered how not to make a light bulb 99 times. And then the first time
True.
when he did it right, he got it right. So we're going to hear no. You're going to hear that you can't do it. And it's making sure as much as possible that your steadfast, your homestead is taken care of. So if you do have additionals, you're able to fund into it, but never losing track of the foundation that you're setting in place.
That's great. That's great. You
A lot of
said,
Go
no, I'm
ahead.
sorry, go ahead, please.
A lot of times, in that same aspect, we don't have a good starting point. For me, when I started out in my business, in our culture, sometimes our parents use our name and our credit to do things to get utilities and X, Y, and Z. So I'm gonna go ahead and put that out
This
there.
episode is over.
So, sometimes that happens. So you're not always in the best position. You have to climb out of a hole sometimes. So, like when I got into the military, um, I can disclose I had like a 512 credit score, so I really couldn't do anything. So I had to work on building up credit first. One thing that I do say about the military, the VA loan is a very powerful thing. So my
Come
first
on.
year inside of the military was me building my credit. I knew where I wanted to get to, so credit is key. They say cash is king, but credit is key.
Credit is key. Yes.
So I was able to fix my credit. I was able to get into fourplexes and duplexes, and that's how I was able to start the little Washington Empire. That's what gave me the opportunity to be able to leverage, to be able to get inside of Omega Clip. You have to be able to set a goal and persevere through those hard times. Have a goal and keep pushing through.
Jermaine, that's funny that you bring that up because where some parents do the wrong thing, I had a great dad, and my dad put me on his credit cards as an authorized user. And
Mhm.
so I, at 18, was building credit
Right, right.
and didn't even have any idea. Like, Dad, look, I got an American Express card. He was just like, yeah, I know. I ain't saying it though,
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
that is really key, using what we have as a community to understand. And this is where brothers supporting brothers comes into place. This is what Jermaine teaches in his company and his foundation is using what we learned and what it is.
Right.
So now with my girls and with my son, I do the same thing. Like I having a 17, a 14, and a 4, they all have a USA credit card, I mean USA account, and they all have, an authorizer under me. So as I continue to strive and grow, I'm taking them with me. We're doing it together. So I'm creating that legacy so they can understand the responsibility as long as the privilege when it comes with it, because
Wow.
credit is a responsibility, but
Yeah.
it is also a privilege.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
And one thing I see in the automotive world, more on our friends and brothers on the other side, they're set up. Their
Yes.
kids are co-signed, they're
Yep.
authorized users. So when they come in and buy their first car, they have a 720, 730 credit score at 19 and 20.
Yes.
Versus on the other side, it's what can you get me in? Please, I just
Yeah.
need something. So it's very important, like you said, for us to teach our children, because I wasn't taught about credit. I wasn't taught about how to use credit, but I make sure, as you said, my sons are authorized users. They have accounts with credit unions at such a young age. So when they are 25, 30, you've been a member of this credit union for 10, 15 years, you can go in and leverage that account. So it's very important as a Black community that we share this information and go back and teach. That's one of my things. I always want to teach my clients when they're in front of me. not just put them in the car.
Bo, you
Yeah.
said
And
something. Bo, you
oh,
said
I'm sorry.
something.
No, please go ahead.
You said you said that people think that being an entrepreneur is sexy, and I was looking at all the faces on the screen.
No, nope.
You don't even sleep some nights.
So I mean,
No.
so Bo, I just kind of want you to kind of talk about that a little bit because you've been through the pain of
Oh yeah.
No,
I mean, all of us have, but it's those lean years trying to get something to launch. Tamara alluded to it. It's we do it for the freedom, we do it for the passion. We do it because we have a burning desire to see a dream fulfilled. Um, and really, that's you have to have that in order to pull through it. When you going through the nose, when you have those times where you have times where things are going great and then all of a sudden it seems like somebody pulled the rug out from underneath you and it's like, oh crap, am I ever going to get out of this? So it can, you have to be mentally tough, because it's psychologically taxing and most
it.
people don't make it. I mean, I think that's probably what drives most people out of entrepreneurship. It's just the mental emotional anxiety that comes up with it, because most people have a hard time dealing with uncertainty. And there is so much uncertainty when you're out here on your own. When you don't, because I like to say it like this, when you work for a corporate world, you're a work processor. You just go and process work.
It's not.
I think there was a stat some time ago, and I don't know if it's still the same, maybe worse now because people work from home, but I don't know. But they said, most people only worked 4 hours a day. You know, I mean, you're going to the coffee machine, going to the water cooler, hanging out outside. So you're probably only doing just a few hours worth of work, where as an entrepreneur, you're everything, especially starting off. I mean, you're human resources, you're marketing, your sales, your product development, you're doing every single aspect of the business. So there is absolutely always something to do. Always. You know, even when you're not doing anything, like you have to make time off, make time just for yourself. So, I think everybody on this call, Lynchburg, Jermaine, Tamara, we can all attest, man, it's tough when you're creating your own check.
Yes.
Yeah. I
Yes.
So,
think it has to be not a certain, it has to be purpose driven. Because like you said, when you want to quit, it has to be some intestinal fortitude to keep you pushing. And
yeah,
it has to be that purpose. A lot of people say, oh, I want to do t-shirts or I want a food truck. But if it's not your purpose, then it fails because you give up on it. But when that little voice inside you continues to tell you to push, I believe that it has to be purpose driven. And when you're helping others as well.
yeah.
Exactly, especially when you're a Renaissance person. I definitely embody that idea. I love history. I'm a huge buff of that. And I've always said I'm a Renaissance woman, but even when you are that, there has to be something that you're passionate about, that you want to drive, that you want to focus on, that you want to get out of you. And Bo, that's so funny when you were saying average person, when they work home, normally they work 4 hours. Well, let's take that into the schools.
yeah,
This is why homeschooling is such a powerful thing, because half the
yeah.
time kids are, being
Hmm.
redirected or they're being chastised or they're just not even getting it. But if you homeschool those four
Right.
hours, you've got your kids locked into that education and to what you're teaching them, what you're doing. And it can be intimidating. I feel like entrepreneurship and understanding like homeschooling, they kind of go hand in hand, even though I
Sure.
don't. Like, let me be honest, but I support it.
The
Yeah,
entre-
yeah,
the
Yeah.
entrepreneurship can also be instilled in you, with how you're brought up.
that's
For
right.
me, getting into real estate has always been instilled in me. My papa and my dad, they always did housework, like building with their hands, building decks, doing the plumbing work, and I was always out there with them. So it just came naturally that I wanted to get in real estate. A lot of the repairs and stuff with these real estate, I do it myself. It cuts costs and saves me money, but it's something that I love because it was taught to me at a young age.
Sure.
Right. Right.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that, and that you hit something that's really key, Jermaine. A lot of us, we don't come from that particular background. You know, I ain't never seen nobody in business. I don't even know, I'm the first in my family to, be out here building something to pass on to the next generation. All I knew was, Most people thought about job and you do a little side hustle or something, maybe big pies at church or something like that. But that's not the same thing necessarily as entrepreneurship. So when you're out here trying to build a company, which leads me to this. I know we talked about, raising capital and stuff like that. And so I know Omega Clip, as great as it is, it's an invention. So how are you guys doing? Where are you at in that process? Is it still possible for people to invest? And if so, how do they do that?
Oh, awesome. Yes. So any business, especially a business with the applications that we are putting together and that we are creating for it to be customizable, is definitely in need of raising capital at all times. I don't believe anybody ever said there's too much money.
Yeah.
In this phase of our business where we're still wanting to get the actual patent. And as I said before, that's a $10,000 check. And your lawyer is not saying, I'm taking payments. He's like, I need that up front because of the work that takes in place to do all of that. We're still in the form of prototypes. So we're still going through testing and analysis. If you are creating something from scratch that nobody has ever done, the amount of testing, because this is a safety item, we're creating this to keep people safe. So the amount of testing and the amount of licensing that you need for this product is extremely expensive. Just a prototype alone is $13,000, and that's just for one. And that's just for us to be able to test it, to run it through what it needs for it to be technology raised and appropriated for it. And then we have the app that we're doing, the app interfaces, the app technology that we want to use, the systems that we have to borrow from, contacting with Apple, contacting with LifeLock, contacting with Samsung, and understanding what their rules and regulations are to be used in the interface for people to get it on their cell phones. There's so many layers that at this point, we're continually moving forward, but we're still in need of that good push of cash flow. I think Jermaine had said it before, that cash flow is always an issue. I can't really recant exactly what he said, but cash flow is always an issue when you have what did you say, Jermaine?
I said in real estate, you're a lot of times you're equity rich and cash poor. So you have the liquidity. You don't have the liquidity, but you have the equity in the product and the real estate.
And we're
So
going to bring that on over to inventing.
yes,
Yes,
same
and
thing.
inventing the
You have
same
equity
thing.
in the product. The product is a millionaire, billionaire, trillionaire. It's
Sure.
definitely a great ideal. So it's going to have the equity in it. However, getting the cash flow in it to get it started is always going to be an issue because there's always going to be another need, another find that you have to be able to fix or patent or resolve.
So with that being said, if somebody's listening in, maybe they didn't have an opportunity last week to hear about Omega Clip. Just give us a short clip. What is Omega Clip? Why is it essential? Why is it something that needs to come out to market? And after that, how can people find out more about maybe in giving you a big influx of cash flow? How can they go about finding out more information about that?
Okay, perfect. So what a mega clip is a revolutionary gun holster that has biometric scanning, a three-lock pen, fallback safe in the actual holster itself. So it is a gun holster that you actually sheath your gun in. Yeah, that you sheath your gun in. And with you sheathing your gun in, you have a fingerprint scanner on the front part of it that you actually can scan your finger and unlock your weapon. And then the three-prong switch that you have in your in the holster is a failback safe. So for whatever reason your fingerprint fails or it doesn't work or you need extra or we want to give you that extra security and safety to relieve that gun. Why it's something that it's needed is because normally we hide guns, we put guns into gun safes. We're not able to demonstrate, we're not able to educate, we're not able to talk about our guns in front of our children, in front of our family members because of the safety factor. We don't want anybody to pick up the gun and have an accident or incident or just cause anybody or themselves harm. With this holster, you can actually have the gun under your pillow. You can have the gun in the kitchen drawer, in the bureau, in the glove box if needed. And because of the way the holster is built, nobody can get this gun out except for two authorized people. The two authorized people will have their fingerprint scanned onto the holster. It will smart send to the app. It will interface through the police station. It'll interface through emergency, whichever one you're doing. If you're cleaning the gun, it'll interface through the app to let you know that the gun is being deholstered and you are safe, so on and so forth. Please go back and watch the first episode so you can get all details about the gun holster, about the gun holster. And when it comes to funding this amazing one unique holster, we have a webpage that you can go to, which is the omegaclipllc.com or the omegaclip.com. And we have a donate button at the bottom of that as well. The donate button is you can give $1, 5 cents, $10. We all know that it still takes 100 pennies to make a dollar. So there is no such thing as something too small, whatever anybody wanted to put on their heart to invest. Then we also have an investment package that you can reach out on that same website if you want to, or on our social media feeds that Jermaine will also put through as well. So if you want to reach out and give a sizable, or you want to partner with us so you can understand what kind of partnerships we offer with our business and with our company, because we are a company, even though we're producing a invention, we are still a company. We have packages that we can talk about with investment plans as well. So there's never a wrong question. There's never a wrong amount. If somebody wanted to give me 5 cents a day, you get a hug too. Somebody wants to give me $500,000, you get a bigger hug, but you still get a hug. So, so we want to make sure that as you follow us on social media, as you watch the clip, any questions, please also feel free to pull out to the Lifeline podcast as well. To me.
I mean, you touched everything. I mean, but one of the key features that I really like about the product, I'm a husband. So if my wife is out and she pulls out her weapon, it's going to send me an alert to my phone before it sends anybody else to let me know that, hey, my wife is pulling out this weapon. I need to contact my wife and see what's going on. That's one of the key features that I really love. It's going to let me know what's going on. Why is my wife pulling out this weapon? But we also are using this product to bring awareness to our communities and to bring accountability. Those are key also.
Doesn't the wife have, I mean, not your wife, I'm sorry. Doesn't the holster have a GPS locator? Didn't you say
It
that?
does have a GPS
Okay,
speaker.
okay.
Thank you. Yes, a GPS speaker, and that beaker will send signals either to two different places. So it'll send to safety first. First is paramount, and then it'll send to your partner, them, they, whomever that you're choosing to be alerted to let you know. The app interface will be on both carrier partners' cell phones or devices. So everybody will be alerted at the same time. And then you'll actually be able to see police was contacted at station 2531. They've been dispatched or whatever. Like all of the interface will actually be in the app. And that is where the licensing, that is where the software, that is where the actual patent for the app takes place as well. So getting something like this is probably one of the most intrusive things because you really want to make sure you cover, and you're still not going to get everything. So feedback, ideas, all those things, they're paramount to the growth and the success for our community for this product.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's revolutionary. When it comes to this type of, like we were saying last week, it's shocking that no one else has come up with something similar to this with all the technology that's out there. So I'm glad it was us who who came up with
Us
it.
too.
and definitely praying for you guys' success. I know you mentioned how people can connect with Omega Clip, but talk to our listeners about how they can connect with you if you have social media, if you have a website, stuff like that. I know, Jermaine, you also have a real estate company. Feel free to highlight those before we end this episode.
Okay, so when it gets down to the list, I have WashingtonJAProperties.com. I have Brothers Supporting Brothers. What is it?
Org.
Org. Appreciate it. And then the Peak Performance Investment Group, I have not done a website for that, but you can contact me on the LinkedIn, Jermaine.Washington, and LinkedIn, and also at Gmail.
And then please feel free to reach out to Dion Tate. It's Dion Tate on LinkedIn. It's Dion Tate at on Facebook, on Instagram. We also have the Omega Clip LLC on LinkedIn. We have the Omega Clip LLC on Twitter, on Instagram, on Facebook as well. Dion loves questions. It honestly probably me answering them, but he loves questions to any format and to any platform. So please feel free to reach out. And then for me, it's Tamara Tate on LinkedIn. It's Tamara Tate on Facebook. It's Tamara Tate or Tamara Hall on Instagram, on all my social medias as well. I don't have an actual personal interface for Omega Clip as far as an email address. So please use the OmegaClipLLC.com to
The
reach out.
OmegaClip.com. The
The Omega Clip. Thank
OmegaClip.com.
you.
TheOmegaClip.com. So guys, to our listeners, man, we appreciate you listening in. This concludes another episode of The Lifeline with your hosts, BJE, Lynchburg Petway, and Bo Powell. Don't forget to check us out at www.simplybje.com/The Lifeline and on social media. Look, we're on a mission. We want to bring light and life into your household, so join us. And let us hear your feedback, because it's all about bringing life to you on The Lifeline. Y'all take care.
Thank you for listening to today's episode with host, business expert, and life coach Bo Powell, social media influencer and entrepreneur Lynchburg Petway, and leadership coach and mental health advocate Barry J. Elliott. Join us next week for another impactful conversation on The Lifeline. God bless.